Okay, we are live. Well, we are recording. Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Brother John Hargrove. I serve as president for the Dr. Julius Nyeri CBPM Division 421 of the Universal Negro Improvement Association here in Atlanta. I'm here with First Vice President of the Garvey Memorial Progressive Nkrumah Division.
In Chicago, 429.
In Chicago, Division 429, First Vice President, Brother Shaka Barak.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, my brother. It is 7:11 p.m. And today is, or this evening is August 1st, 2024. We are opening up the month of Mosiah, and our intentions today is to commemorate celebrate the first international convention of the Negro peoples of the world, held by Marcus Garvey and our ancestors in the UNIA-ACL in Harlem, 1920. Brother Shaka, how do you? We usually start out just to open up. We at least do a pledge, if you would not mind. I'd like to do pledge to the UNIA flag.
That'll be fine. Your agenda calls for a call to order so that we can establish a quorum.
Yes, sir. We officially call to order, and quorum is what we're doing now. So the meeting is officially started.
All right, so we have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
All right, great.
7, it looks like.
Yeah. That usually will work.
That's the magic number, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it takes to start a division, 7.
That's correct. That's correct. You want me to lead the commitment pledge?
The commitment pledge or pledge to the what pledge are you speaking of?
Well, the commitment pledge is also often called the pledge to the red, black, and green.
Okay, maybe
and
that's.
Of course, there's the one that is specifically called the pledge to the red, black, and green. So it's what'd you say, wifey? Oh yeah, ode to the flag. So I can lead the commitment unless one of you youngsters want to take that on.
Division 421, anyone ready to step up and lead the pledge?
I'll do it.
Sister Cecily, look at you. All right. Thank you, Sister Cecily.
Okay.
Oh, here it is.
Huh?
No, I didn't know he had posted it.
Yes.
Oh. Yes. Okay. I commit my body.
Wait. Now we're saying this together, correct, Sister Cecily? And
yeah.
Brother Shaka,
call and response.
Call and response?
Yeah. She says.
1 second. Hold on. I got to stop you because when we've had the in-person meetings, other elders have actually told me that it should not be call and response.
Well, what happens is when everybody knows it, then we can say it together.
Okay.
But some of our material, you have to say, repeat after me.
Okay.
I commit my mind, body, and spirit. I commit my mind, body, and spirit. But eventually they'll learn it.
Okay.
Oftentimes, everybody doesn't know it. So it gets real crazy when you're trying to pray that everybody can say it at the same time, the same way.
Yes, sir. Okay. Call and response. Sister Cecily, you have the lead.
Okay. I commit my body, mind, and spirit.
I commit my body, mind, and spirit
to the protection, defense, and security.
To the protection,
defense, and security
of the red, black, and green.
Of the red, black, and green.
I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa.
I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa
and the liberation of her scattered Black children.
and the liberation of her scattered Black children.
I accept for myself and my descendants
I accept for myself and my descendants
the teachings of universal African nationalism.
the teachings of universal African nationalism.
And I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people.
And I promise that our children will be instilled
The
with purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people,
in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail.
in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail,
Until all Black people are free and united.
until all Black people are free and united.
Through one God, one aim, one destiny.
One God,
one aim,
one destiny.
Race first.
Race first.
Great job, Sister Cecily. And officers, we all have a responsibility to memorize our pledge to the UNIA flags. Great job, Sister Cecily. I believe I will probably have rituals next on the agenda.
That's what I'm looking at. Thank you, Brother Art, laying it out for us.
Yeah, rituals and then the roll call. Okay. Brother Shaka, do you want to handle our ritual prayer?
I don't mind at all.
Thank you.
You want to humble your spirits? Direct us, O Lord, in all our doings with thy most gracious favor, and further us with thy continued help, that in all our work begun, continued, and ended in thee, we may glorify thy holy name, and finally by thy mercy obtain everlasting life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Almighty God, whose kingdom is everlasting and power infinite, be gracious unto the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and so rule the hearts of thy servants, the President General, members of the High Executive Council, and all others in authority, that they, realizing the responsibilities of their office, may above all things seek the honor and welfare of our race. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Almighty Savior, whose heavy cross was laid upon the stalwart shoulders of Simon the Cyrenian in that sad hour of thy mortal weakness, remember in thy love and mercy the land of our forefathers, in which thou did find refuge. Redeem Africa from the hands of those who exploit and ravish her. Renew her ancient glory. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Praise God.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Okay, that takes care of our rituals. I believe the next item would be roll call. Brother Shock, do you want to do this like we did on the 20th, where each person introduced themselves, or you want to just go through?
You called on them to introduce themselves. Let's do it that way.
Okay. I introduced myself, Brother John, President, UNIA-ACL Division 421. Brother Art, I see you come off mute. You ready?
Brother Art from 421, Recording Secretary.
Thank you, Brother Art. Sister Cecily.
Hello, my name is Cecily Lauren Willis, Division 421, Atlanta, Georgia, Second Lady Vice President, and Arts and Culture. Race first.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sister Cecily. Brother Eric.
Hey, I am here.
We do a roll call. You can
Vice
just
President, and I also am keeping track of learning with membership.
absolutely. Thank you, Brother Eric. Brother Malik.
Yeah, Brother Malik, second vice president, whatever needs to be done.
Yes, sir. Also helping assist with our labor and industry as well. Thank you, Brother Malik. And last from 421, Brother Macias. So you jump back in.
Brother Macias, first vice president and business development coordinator.
That is everyone from 421. Sister Georgia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I can put my screen on in a little bit. This is Georgia Johnson, Division 429 of Chicago, Illinois, Lady President.
Greetings, greetings. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else, Brother Shaka, and your wife?
Kamar?
Yeah, Sister Kamar Medine, 429 Chicago, Financial Secretary.
Greetings, greetings.
Brother Shaka Barak, first vice president of the Garvey and Krumah Memorial Progressive Division, 429. I'm also the president of the Marcus Garvey Institute, and I serve under a mighty warrior, the president of Division 429, Clyde Banks, who is also the Minister of Industry and Labor. So he is one of the co-conveners of this 104th anniversary of the first International Convention of the Negro People of the World. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Malik. I see you in there. Okay, so that takes care of roll call, and by count, let's see, is that I think we got 9 that I count. So we got 9 on the call currently.
Okay. That's what he said.
All right. Next item of the agenda would be to get into our topic. Topic for this evening is the celebration of the first International Convention of the Negro Peoples of the World. There's a couple items specifically that we would like to discuss, including the plebiscite that took place on today's date, August 1st, in 1920. The Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World, which was introduced August 13th. Our red, black, and green flag was also introduced in the month of August in 1920. We'll touch on our Constitution, which was first put into effect in July of 1918. Then we'll have a few minutes for the audience to ask questions, give any input. Then we'll close out the meeting around 9 o'clock. So first things first, plebiscite. Brother Shock, anything you want to introduce?
Yes, thank you, Brother John. Nice to hear your voice, Lady President Georgia Banks. Sometimes when we talk about the UNIA and its birth and the great things that it has done, we have to put it in its proper context. Our organization was born in the fires of a world war and in the fires of Jim Crow here in the United States, the fires of colonialism and white supremacy around the world. I mean, Africa had been invaded, and we are in the middle and still in the middle of a great war. But let me just give you an idea of what existed in the era of Jim Crow while we get ready to talk about what we did in 1920. Under Jim Crow laws, we had separate and public and private recreational areas. We had separate parks, separate hospitals, separate welfare institutions, separate prisons, separate hotels, separate restaurants and bars, separate theaters, separate restrooms, separate waiting rooms, separate train cars, separate drinking fountains, separate doors to enter a building and separate doors to exit a building. We had separate elevators and stairs. We had separate Bibles for witnesses in a court. We had separate churches, separate government offices, separate sidewalks. We were separated on buses. Blacks had to sit in the back of the bus. We had separate taxi cabs. Black cabs must be clearly marked for Negroes. We had separate barbershops, separate neighborhoods, separate cemeteries for our burial, separate public schools, and there was a prohibition of marriage between Blacks and whites. This is the era that the UNIA was placed in and grew in and grew from. And so in those circumstances, it became important for our people to decide how they were going to change the conditions in which we live. And so one of the things that we did, and I'm going to share this brief piece with you, is we decided that we would need to have our own belief system. Now, your presidents will probably tell you that you could turn to what we believe in philosophy and opinions, and it'll clearly lay that piece out for you. And sometimes, brothers and sisters, we think that that was only for that time. But what we believe, that is the Universal Negro Improvement Association, is still what we believe today. And so let me share it with you, what we believe. The Universal Negro Improvement Association advocates the uniting and blending of all Negroes into one strong, healthy race. It is against miscegenation and race suicide. It believes that the Negro race is as good as any other, and therefore should be as proud of itself as others are. It believes in the purity of the Negro race and the purity of the white race. It is against rich Blacks marrying poor whites. It is against rich or poor whites taking advantage of Negro women. It believes in the spiritual fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. It believes in the social and political, physical separation of all people to the extent that they promote their own ideals and civilization with the privilege of trading and doing business with each other. It believes in the promotion of a strong and powerful Negro nation in Africa. It believes in the rights of all men. Universal Negro Improvement Association, Marcus Garvey, President General, January the 1st, 1924. So with the conditions that we were facing under Jim Crow, under white supremacy, et cetera, we created a system of survival. And so the first International Convention of the Negro People of the World was designed, as we had said in previous gatherings, to accomplish several things. One was to choose the leadership of our race. And you remember President Hargrove, that particular promise of help that the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey made.
Yes, sir.
After he had studied the conditions of his people. What was that?
So where's the black man's government? Where's his kings and his queens, his army, his navy, his men and women of big affairs? He could not find them, and he declared that he would help to make them.
All right. So in 1920, we were called together from 40 different countries for the entire month of August to have our army, our navy, to have our men and women of big affairs, to have our ambassadors, to have our king and our kingdom. And so these men and women who became the elected officers of the UNIA were the fulfillment of that promise that he would help to make them. And today we're going to look at those offices very closely, because although some members who join the UNIA don't go all the way, they don't stay to the end, they don't die with their boots on, we still will take you as far as you want to go. We can let you stay in this cab as long as you want to ride. But when you feel like you can't go any further, then if you just got to step out, then we're going to continue on, no matter what you decide that you're going to do. Let me say something else before we get into those particular responsibilities of those men and women that the Honorable Marcus Garvey promised that he would provide for us, and that he did provide for us. I said to the membership earlier that I needed to say something about what we've been doing since June the 10th. And your president of 421, and of course our president, but your president accepted a responsibility of pulling these events off. And so my president, Clyde Banks, and I, we have nothing but great things to say about Brother John Hargrove's commitment to both studying and to teaching about the life and the works of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. He has joined me on the National Black Alliance Network to talk about the life and the works of the Honorable Marcus Garvey on 2 occasions. He has prepared to attend our joint meetings with the tools of Philosophy and Opinions, UNIA Papers, Race First, the Course of African Philosophy, the UNIA Constitution, and Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World. He has produced the most beautiful flyers announcing the UNIA celebrations that shows the photos of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey draped in the colors of the flag, the red, black, and green. His selfishness has shown us that he serves something that is bigger than himself. His devotion is to something older than himself. He will be remembered by an organization long after his flesh and bones have went to dust, where we all must go. And so I needed to just take the time to thank Brother Hargrove for the hard work that he's done. And I hope that you who are members of his organization will hold on to this man and give him the recognition and show him the appreciation that he deserves. We certainly appreciate him in our division and for the great work that he's doing to educate. In fact, long before we commissioned him to have the July 20th anniversary, he was doing things to teach and to educate our people. We thank you, brother, for that great work. Please continue it.
Thank you, Brother Shaka.
Let us take a look now, if you will, before I do that, it's just proper that if anybody else knows how hard this brother works and you just got to say something, to honor your leader, then I'm not going to stop you. If you feel like you agree with me, if you feel like he's doing something, then, give him his flowers when? While he lives. Wait till somebody dead, lay some flowers on the grave. Okay. All right. So you know what you all need to do for your leader. Now, here are those leaders that the Honorable Marcus Garvey promised us. Our president of 421 read them off to you at the last gathering. We're going to go through them a little slower so we can really appreciate who these men and women are. In fact, The members of the divisions, if you have a list of the members of the High Executive Council, the original one, the one where they were elected to office, the one that they were not only elected, but they received salaries in those offices, then we're going to go through those, pull your list up, and you're welcome if any of those appeal to you and you'd like to say something about what those responsibilities are in that office, then you can feel free to do so. As a matter of fact, we can perhaps start that way, Brother John, where we can find out, is there anyone that sees a particular office that they would like to tell us something about it?
It's a good approach. Would anyone like to start? Offices of a High Executive Council, the original High Executive Council, elected salaried positions. Some of the positions are still active.
Today, that's correct.
Everybody camera shy.
All right. Okay, somebody's looking for the document. Okay, go ahead. Take your time
Okay,
as we go through these.
I have a list. If you have the Philosophies and Opinions, the original text, volume 2, starts on page 277. If you got the original text, but salaries to officers was the title of this section.
What page is that? 248, was it?
277 is where the names start.
Okay, 277.
Yes.
Volume 2.
Yes.
And let's also recommend, brothers and sisters, when you come to these events that we jointly hold or sponsor, bring your tools.
Yes.
Bring your philosophy and opinions, race first, whatever you have. Because we can't depend on one person to do all the research and provide all the information. Excuse me. And eventually you'll get comfortable sharing the information, and you'll remember where it is and be able to go to it very quickly. So thank you.
And students of the course of African philosophy should also know that we should be building our libraries. And for me, my office has become my library. So when it comes to us having meetings, my setup is amongst my books. So our books should be close by is kind of where I'm going.
Okay, great. And yeah, if it's convenient for you when you come on these conference calls, bring your book. And that way, if the president decides to ask you to look up something, to share something, or to find something, if he's got 10 members and they all have either philosophy and opinions or race first or more philosophy and opinions, or, Marcus Garvey and the UNIA papers, or Garvey and Garveyism, or, then between 10 of y'all, somebody ought to be able to find what he's looking for. Can somebody find me, tell me where so and so and so? And bam, you got it.
Yes, sir.
So have your tools. So let's take a look at these offices. Potentate and Supreme Commissioner. That is your king. This is the highest ranking member of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the potentate. The Honorable Marcus Garvey was probably the hardest working man that ever lived. he oftentimes only got 4 hours of sleep a day. He traveled with 4 secretaries so that he could dictate to them the communication that needed to go out to all the presidents of divisions. It's just like when the UNIA says the president of a division ought to go over the Constitution on a regular basis with his members.
Yes, sir.
Well, the president general must go over the Constitution with his presidents because he has the power to appoint them. And so he must guide and lead them on a regular basis. And so so his plate was full to the extent that out of the office or headquarters of the UNIA, letters were sent out on a regular basis to the presidents of divisions, other officers of the UNIA, other leaders in the world, to let them know what our sentiment was, what our feelings were, what our interest was. And so can you imagine 50,000 pieces of mail leaving out of the post office every week? So he did the heavy lifting, but we needed a honorable potentate that would be the best example of a leader that the world has ever seen. We always set the highest standard for everything that we did, and we should set it for everything that we do. There should be no dishonesty among us anywhere. So
Yes,
the
sir.
potentate was the supreme ruler of the race worldwide. The supreme deputy, it's kind of like you have first assistant president general, second assistant, third assistant. You know, we talked about briefly how if you went after the UNIA, you'd have to kill a lot of assistant presidents to be able to slow the UNIA down. And so you had the supreme deputy, who was also a part of that, a group of honorable leaders of our race. The president general, of course, is the president general and administrator. Once he put the high executive offices in place, once he was able to use the First International Convention to hold the election for those officers to be put in place and to elect to have salaries for them that prayerfully they would earn, that they would go out and do the work, and therefore, you know, pay their own way. Once he put those things in place, then the only thing that was needed was to administer all of that. Now, some people say the UNA was so big until they're in awe as to how the Honorable Marcus Garvey could manage 1,000 divisions of the UNIA. But whatever man has done, what?
Man can do.
Man can do. So whatever we were doing or proposing to do, it wasn't the first time any human beings had ever done that. And so as the administrator, he provided the leadership to keep all of this together. But he had his first assistant, a president general. He basically was on standby. In the event anything happened to the president, he would step up. But there were different regions of the world that needed leadership. You had the West Indies, you had South and Central America, you had the United States of America, and you had Africa. So these responsibilities were divided up among these assistant president generals. And again, you could earn a living. The Honorable Marcus Garvey earned $100,000 a year just off his speaking engagements. You can earn money. I've not earned or made a living off of teaching Garveyism, but there have been universities and colleges. I think I still got the checks, 500 here and 400 here, and one day of work. That ain't bad. And what do they want you to do? They want you to tell them about the life and the works of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. And what do you need to tell them? It is called the objects and aims of the UNIA. Brother Hargrove, can you pull that up at some point? I want us to look at that. The objects and aims of the UNIA. Brothers and sisters.
Yes, I'll get that.
You need to be able to articulate, what does the UNIA stand for? To establish a universal confraternity among the race. What does that mean? That means one for all and all for one. That means that the entire race is one family, and all of our brothers and sisters belong to that family. And we must unite that family, because we cannot survive divided against ourselves. East going one way and West going the other way, and the African going a different way, and the Afro-Asian, the Afro-Latino, and the Afro-Caribbean going in a different direction. So we need to promote that confraternity. And you need, as members of the UNIA, to be able to sell that idea to our people. Now, I know it won't be the easiest thing to get your mind around. You mean there's 1.6 billion Black people in the world, and I should tell them to organize in one organization? Yes, you should. That is the universal confraternity among the race. Anybody want to say anything on that before we move to the next one? Promote the spirit, no, reclaim the fallen. Who is that? The drug addict, the prostitute, the gambler, the alcoholic. They may be down, but they're not out. So, shucks. In the Bible, it says, who did God go after? The fallen, the sick, the sinner. A lot of times the healthy person don't need you as much as the person who is down. Go after the fallen members of our race, whether they're behind the wall in prison or whether they're walking up and down the street. Promote the spirit of pride and love. Pride in what we have done as a people. Ooh, our history is so full of the greatness that we have achieved. Pride in what we're doing. Right now, you can find so many examples. Sister Cicely and I were talking about Sister Simone, weren't we? A little superwoman is able to throw her body across those beams and across that gymnastic floor, and be able to swing in the air and get gold because she's the best in the world. Africans have been warriors, and we've been able to do that kind of stuff forever. And so now we're given an opportunity, and the Simones of the world show us how strong and powerful we are. The brother, the track field brothers, what's the brother out of Jamaica?
Bolt?
Yeah.
Usain Bolt?
Yeah. Some of the fastest human beings in the world, strongest human beings in the world, best fighters in the world. We are warrior people. And so given an opportunity to express that, we do okay. So pride in what we are doing right today, and then pride of what we're going to produce in the future. This ain't over. Yeah, it looks bad and it looks rough, but it's not over. brothers and sisters, and to promote the spirit of pride and love. Nobody love us better than we love ourselves. They can't. They'll lie to you if they try to convince you, oh, we love you. Y'all don't love y'all. I think Donald Trump said something like that the other day. He said, Chucks, I've been better than you. Says ain't nobody been as good to you as I'm better than you than Abraham Lincoln was. I mean, come on now. I mean, they're just full of lies. So we have to love ourselves. And I know sometimes these brothers and sisters, the way we treat each other, it's hard at times, but go to God, go to your inner self, inner spirit, and find a way to say, I love you. Because if you start saying it over and over and over again, eventually you'll be able to believe it. And you'll put it into practice. You'll make it manifest itself. To assist the needy, what do they need? They need food, clothing, shelter. Then we got to take care of those things. Civilized means to prepare our people in a nation that they will be able to excel others in every area, science, in every area, in education, in health, in every area. Independent Negro nations, they've done 10% of the work that we have to do is already done on the continent of Africa. We just got to connect with them and let them know, hey, we're your big brothers and sisters. We're going to explain to you how you got to where you are, because they don't know. Some of them run around in confusion, like, you know, oh, the British, they emancipated us. The British, they let us become independent. No, Garveyism, universal African nationalism. To establish ambassadors and representatives who will look out for our interests wherever we are in the world. So if somebody attacks us because we Black, because we're an African, then the African people of the world will come against that force, just like the Chinese do. You offend somebody simply because they're Chinese, the whole government of China will speak out. And it will get to that point that we will have those representatives in different major cities and of the world that will speak out in behalf of our people. We need a conscientious spiritual worship. Brothers and sisters, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do for your brothers and sisters? If you say, you know, you believe in doing unto others as others would do unto you, well, okay, we can work together. If you say that you will not take and steal from each other, then we can work together. If you say that you'll leave my wife alone, then we can work together. I'll leave your wife alone, you leave my wife alone, right? You leave her husband alone, and she leaves your husband alone. And it is better to marry than to burn, which means that you brothers, you can't be playing with these sisters, be out there acting like, hey, man, you know, she cute, she cool, right? Man, bro, we can't play them games. That's over. I know that the standards sometimes are low, that people talk to each other in all kind of filthy kind of ways about our sisters. And sometimes the sisters talk about our men the same way. But we've got to change that. We're going to need our own schools and educational systems, because if we don't teach our children, they're going to turn on you. And we need to do international trade so that whatever is manufactured, whatever we need that's grown in South and Central America, we put it in our factories, whether it's in Africa or South and Central America among Black workers, and turn it into a product that our people can use. So we can definitely do international trade with each other, and then to work for better conditions in every community. Now, brothers and sisters, I know how we are about trying to adopt all kind of other stuff in place of what the UNIA is offering. But there's nothing superior to what the UNIA is offering right here in these objects and aims. If you went to the Kawaida, the 7 principles of the Nguzazaba, they ain't got nothing superior to what we have. The Universal Negro Improvement Association is an organization with a hero. His name is the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We ain't gonna never make him take a back seat to anybody. We ain't gonna never kick Marcus Garvey to the curb. Likewise, we are a organization that there's an African organization. I mean, we're a serious African organization. You know, your brother president, he was like, yeah, okay, Kamala, yeah, that's all right, you know, she cool, but for real, we gotta have Africa. There's no joke about it. And we have to be able to meet our brothers and sisters. We talk about selling the UNIA, meet our brothers and sisters and let them know, hey, Africa's our home too. We ain't gonna have no debate because you live there, were born there, and I was born in Atlanta, and you're gonna make it seem like that ain't my home. Man, you must be crazy. We're not giving up Africa. And so we work for better conditions in every community. And the work has to start right where you are. Brothers and sisters, we don't have to recruit for Atlanta in Chicago. Just work in Atlanta. I noticed some young Black boys and girls running around there lost. Let's go get them and bring them inside of the UNIA. Get the candy out, get whatever it's gonna take, you know, put them in a foot race, show them how to exercise, show them how to run. Because normally, if you can get a young boy to exercise, you know, like you want to play basketball, okay, you got to run around this track. If you can get him to exercise, you can get him to do anything. If you can get him to do push-ups, then surely you can get him in a UNIA meeting. So let's, you know, work for better conditions in our community. We can get a handle on this situation. So let me pause. I see my president, Brother Clyde Banks, has arrived. Can we pause for a minute so he can say hello to the family?
Sure. President Clyde.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings, President John. How are you? Mother Shaka, appreciate that. I've been listening in for the last 40 minutes or so. I appreciate you all putting this together. Sorry, we've been busy with putting jobs together here in Chicago for folks. And, you know, it's not over when the job is done. It just goes on and on and on. So we appreciate your patience and let me come in a few minutes after the start time. I think we're also going to be going right into an HEC meeting in a few minutes as well. But I did want to say hello.
Thank you, Brother Clyde.
Thank you, Brother Clyde. Always a pleasure.
Brother John, you want to tackle one of these high executive offices?
Yes, sure. Well, one I think was overlooked well, you kind of spoke on it, but it's written Provisional President of Africa, Provisional President of Africa. And to my understanding, Marcus Garvey was elected to that position as the first provisional president of Africa. One of the things that I've talked to our division about is that word provisional, and how Mr. Garvey laid it out in the plan. And this is, you know, to my understanding, this is the function of the UNIA. We are the government for our people until Africa unites to take its rightful place. But with the word provisional, to my understanding, implies somewhat of temporary for the time being. Brother Shaka, you have anything to that?
Yes, he was elected. Our people decided that we needed to have a provisional president of Africa. There were only 2 independent nations on the continent of Africa at that time. And so the objective would be to eventually organize the entire continent, all 12 million square miles. And so the UNIA needed to have its headquarters moved to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
That early in 1920, ideas were circulating that we would move the headquarters to Liberia, West Africa, but certainly some part of Africa, because the UNIA was so strong, it could have set up anywhere. So the provisional was, again, designed to begin the process of establishing a government on the continent of Africa. Now, there is some language that is being used that we want to take a close look at. The Constitution of the UNIA says government of the UNIA.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution is talking about governing the UNIA. See, our Constitution is for the governing of the UNIA. How do you run the UNIA? Now, in these modern times, there you go. In these modern times, made for the government of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Now, the way I've always tried to interpret that is the governing for the purpose of governing the UNIA. These are the bylaws for the governing of the UNIA. That is why it's so important that the presidents of divisions teach this Constitution on a regular basis so that our people know how they're supposed to, what the objects are and the aims are of the UNIA, and how they're supposed to govern themselves. A president must know his responsibilities. The lady president must know her responsibilities so that they can govern themselves. Now, those who want to say that we are a government, you might have a problem when it comes to the issue of sovereignty.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because if you cannot protect yourself, if you cannot feed yourself, if you can't control the air and the space above you, if you can't control the waters around you, if you can't control the land and everything that's up under it, you are not a government. Now, you can be emotional and say those things, but you know, brothers and sisters, do you know that we've had men and women who have played God? Yeah, they have said, I'm God. And the Honorable Marcus Garvey said, we don't play God. Let's play man. Let's be the best man that we could be.
Yes, sir.
Let's be the best woman that we could be. So don't play government. Don't play it. And don't play UNIA. You got the Constitution. Do it. Do it. That's why Brother Hargrove and Brother Clyde and I decided, let's go back and look at what has happened in the past, because as the Honorable Marcus Garvey said, what man has done, man can do. Let's go back and do it again by using these tools that will govern us, because everybody has to fall in line with these tools in order for us to grow. What our children need is in the Constitution. What the auxiliaries, Universal African Motor Corps, it's in the Constitution. African Legions in the Constitution, Black Cross Nurses in the Constitution, the choirs in the Constitution. Everything that we should be doing is in the Constitution. Now, the question is, do we want to do those things? Do we really want to do that? Do we want to be the largest mass movement again? Do we want to be the most successful again? Do we want to be the greatest organization that's ever existed again? Well, these are the tools. And you got a master teacher here who's constantly making that kind of information available for us. Let's dig into that. And let's be real, UNIA. Let's not play and pretend. Let's go on about the business of doing that. Now, will you take another one, Brother Hargrove? Another High Executive Council member?
Yes. Let's see. Next one would be the leader of the American Negro. So that would be one of the assistant vice president or assistant president generals.
Number 2?
Well, leader of the American Negroes. So you know we have the leader of the American Negroes, the leader of Eastern Province, leader of the Western Province. To my understanding, those titles were assumed by assistant president generals. Is that a?
Yeah, they came along with that responsibility.
Okay.
Now, as a matter of fact, the Honorable Marcus Garvey wrote Du Bois, and he asked Du Bois, allow us to place your name in nomination for the position of leader of American Negroes. Wasn't that nice? We oftentimes think that they were both at it all the time. No, the Honorable Marcus Garvey was always trying to be sympathetic toward Du Bois and invited him. But he said, hey, there's no way I can allow my name to be placed in nomination. By the way, how many members you got? You know, always try to get in our business. How much money y'all take in? Man, please. So he came to the first international convention. And when they saw him and he had rejected that possibility of holding an office, so he ran up out of there. Yeah, they didn't chase him out. He just ran. Anyway, but yeah, that's a good one.
Shall I continue?
Yes.
This one is not active. Supreme Deputy Potentate. I don't know if we should, Deputy.
Well, again, that's part of that hierarchy that works closely with the potentate.
Gotcha.
Now, we don't have a potentate today, obviously.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that we won't have one day. See, our job is to produce the best membership that we possibly can. See, you can't have a potentate if nobody's honest, nobody's truthful, nobody sets a good example of how to live their life. You can't have a president general if you can't find somebody who's honest, who will live their life in such a way that they're above reproach. Look at all the schisms that exist inside of the UNIA, because oftentimes we just don't have the leadership. And so people get frustrated. They become, they feel as though they can't trust leadership. So, but let's also look at this very important one, the Minister of African Legions. Do you know how important that office is when it comes to the juveniles? The juveniles, especially the boys, they have to be taught, especially the cadets, they have to be taught by a military leader. The Universal African Motor Corps, they have to be taught by a military leader. And of course, the Universal African Legions, and every man in the UNIA ought to be a part of the Universal African Legions. Why? Because part of their responsibility is to build a city or to tear it down. They need the skills, the arts, the crafts. They need to be plumbers and architects and engineers. And so everybody ought to have a trade. And that's what happens inside of the Universal African Legions. I know some of us are so old until we were like, man, I couldn't put on a uniform and so forth. So, well, you may be at an honorary stage where we're not expecting you to do 25 push-ups in 2 minutes. We're not expecting you to run a mile, Cicely. We ain't expecting them to run no mile in no 5 minutes. But our Black Cross nurses will have to check you out to make sure that you're in a good health. And then with that military continence, the people see that in the community. Why do you think the Nation of Islam has attracted so many people with the Fruit of Islam or the what's that, Muslim Girls Training Program? Because people love those uniforms on our people. So, brothers and sisters, our presidents will not be able to cover every high executive office, but we must continue to study all that there is about this great organization. Why? Because we're going to resurrect it.
Yes, sir.
I don't care how it looks nowadays and the foolishness that's going on nowadays. Don't worry about that. When enough people have enough information, it'll be resurrected. It'll be rebuilt.
Yes, sir.
But right now, we don't know anything. Somehow we came into the UNIA because we were Black nationalists. So we come into the UNIA because we want to, be comfortable with other people who aspire to that Black people ought to control, if they're in a majority, control the politics of their community. They ought to control the economics of their community. They ought to control the social institutions of their community. Black power. But the UNIA is bigger than that.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about building an empire. You got the foundation for an empire here. So let's study. Let's study, show ourselves approved, and let's get real comfortable with the idea. Okay? So these offices, they will be rebuilt. Some of those offices, like Secretary Generals, shoot, do you know those were men? Why? Because sometimes you have to take care of business 24/7. And sometimes we didn't want the sisters to necessarily always be out at night and so forth and so on. So brothers could handle the business.
Yep. Brothers
could take dictations and provide security at the same time. So, but then all of those departments had an assistant. What is an international organizer? I mean, think about it. You can organize anywhere in the world. Now, you got to tell the story, though. Ain't nobody gonna join you because you say you the international organizer, or if you say you anything else. Nobody care about who you are. It's what you do,
sir.
So we got to have an international organizer. But then we got to ask ourselves at some point in time, when we talk about resurrecting the UNIA, rebuilding the UNIA, do we want these things? Do we really want to rebuild the UNIA? Or is it more than a notion? Is it too big? Maybe we can't think that big. But you're following the alma Marcus Garvey. He would be expecting you to figure out how this organization will last for 1,000 years so that we can get the work done. You got the program for getting the work done. There ain't nothing else out here. Most of the organizations that went as far as they're going to go. Moorish Science Temple of America, that's it. Nation of Islam, love you. Love you, Minister Farrakhan. Love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he used to be in the UNIA. But that's about it. The Rastafarian movement, that's about it. You know what they did to the Black Panther Party? We ain't trying to resurrect the Black Panther Party. We're trying to resurrect the UNIA so we can get the work done. So keep studying, keep working. Is there any chancellor? That's the money.
Yeah.
That's the money counter.
Yep. Important.
That's the actuary. So we have to keep records of our money. And Minister of Education, I've served in that capacity. Brother John, brother, you keep doing what you're doing, and you could almost hold any position that you want. And your members, you all that are following John,
John.
You can have anything you want if you
Mhm.
want it.
Yep.
But be like him. Study, do the research, teach other people about it. Put your pictures up on the wall of the alma Marcus Garvey and the position that you want. Put it up there.
Yeah.
Because at some point in time, there's going to be people that's going to come along and they ain't going to be here to play games.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be here to take care of business. And as long as you seem like you're the one that's going to take care of business, they'll be willing to work with you. Trust me, they will work with you. We're going to send the word down through the sands of time. When you catch some real serious UNIA members, work with them. Anybody else on the list?
Yeah, but well, one thing, Brother Shaka, interestingly enough, Minister of Education was not one of the initial offices.
Yeah,
It came about later, it seems, more recently.
Yeah. We had some good ministers of education too. Dr. Anderson Thompson, Dr. Leo Bertley out of Canada. Remember, dear? Yeah, I mean, they had a serious school in Canada. But
James Spady, Minister of Education.
What'd you say?
Did James Spady ever serve in that capacity?
No.
Oh, okay. I know Dr. Umar was Minister of Education for a minute too.
Yes, yeah. Famously.
So let's study all of these offices, even though they're not active now, but we got to see the UNIA in its highest state, because that's what we're going to restore.
Sir.
If you have a copy of the article of incorporation of the African Communities League, do your people have that in Atlanta?
No, I haven't shared it with them. I've seen it myself, but I don't think I've shared it with my members. Officers, have y'all seen that?
I've seen it.
You have? Who's that, Brother Macias?
Yes,
Did it come from me or somebody else?
I got it from Brother Clyde, or President Clyde sent it to me.
Now, Brother Clyde Banks?
Yes, President Clyde Banks sent it to me.
Now, did he send you the entire page by page article of incorporation of the African Communities League?
Probably not.
Yeah, because I
will never get what you have.
I produced a one-page piece that kind of outlines some of the highlights of the African Communities League. But John, here's the reason I'm asking this. At some point, we need to make sure that your members have a copy of the Articles of Incorporation of the UNIA, incorporation of the African Communities League, incorporation of the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
The names of all the ships, the descriptions of all the ships. I mean, this ought to be fun. We're talking about resurrecting the UNIA, man. Let's make this enjoyable.
Yes, sir.
So
I want all that information.
All right.
Before to say that.
Who said that?
Brother Macias.
That's the spirit. Where my sisters at? You want this information, Cicely? I didn't hear you say yes.
Absolutely we do. But of course.
All right, Diane. Listen, I got it like that. I got it like that.
Yes, yes.
And I can't die with it, y'all. So, but the beautiful thing about it is when you have this information, you do have to do something with it.
Yes,
You
sir.
have to teach, you have to share it. You can't sit on it and put it in a closet somewhere. You can't try to sell it. You got to share it with the people who need it the most, because this is unbelievable, the things that the UNIA has done. And so the average person that you run into, they'll be like, what? Marcus Garvey did what? And then don't start talking about how these other leaders, stole our program or copied our program on the continent of Africa or throughout South and Central America, or these major national groups. Man, people will be like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And so make sure you're ready. Make sure you're ready. Now, let me just say one other thing about August the 31st. Is that the date we committed to, Brother John?
Yes, it is. That's a Saturday, August 31st.
August the 31st. You got to bring somebody on here with you next time. I mean, some, brothers, sisters say, look, I'm going to this UNIA meeting. Man, I'm still dealing with COVID. No, it's gonna be Zoom. Yeah, I want you to hear this, Brother John Hargrove. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll send you the information, sis. Yeah. I want you to hear Sister Kamar up in Chicago. We got people that'll be calling in from all over the country. Can I get you to come to a UNIA meeting? Yeah, I'll come. And then we'll sell them. You get them in the chairs. And we'll sell them on the idea that they need to be a part of the organization founded by the greatest Black leader that we ever had, and with the greatest program. So we'll get them. You get them here, and we'll get them involved. Now, Brother John, my wife is telling me what time it is. I need to defer to you to see where we are, because we start on time, we close on time. So I follow leadership.
Okay, let me get 1 second. Let me look at. We're doing good. We're doing good. The only things that we have, we didn't touch on the declaration. We haven't touched on the items. Yeah, we kind of did spend quite a bit of time on the officers, so we probably do need to proceed to the to the remaining items for First International Convention, specifically the plebiscite.
Okay, brothers and sisters, the International Convention saw young Marcus Garvey working feverishly, especially that 4 hours of sleep a night, just prior to about 6 months, 7 months out of the First International Convention. And the objective again was to get us a leadership to fulfill his promise, to help build the king and the kingdom, Army, Navy, etc. But the people needed to share what was going on in the African world, what was happening to our race in all those countries, what was happening to them in the political, social arenas. And we created a Declaration of Rights that, first of all, had the demands. I mean, it had the complaints. Now, this is a copy that I produced, the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World. So it has the be it resolved that the Negro people of the world, through their chosen representatives in convention assembled in Liberty Hall in the city of New York and the United States of America from August 1st to August 31st in the year of our Lord, 1920, protest against the wrongs and injustices that they are suffering at the hands of their white brethren, and state what they deem their fair and just rights, as well as the treatment they propose to demand of all men in the future. So these are the complaints. There are 12 of them. Then after the 12 complaints, there are 54 demands. So I want you to have copies of this. Now, so let me ask the question. Do all the division members have a copy of the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World? And I know it's in the book, but we need to reproduce it so you can have your little, pamphlet of the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World, so, because it's not in your Constitution. So you have a copy of the Constitution, the Declaration of Rights won't be in there. So where are you all at, Brother John, in terms of copies of the Declaration of Rights?
You said where are we at in terms of the copies, the physical copies?
Yes.
We don't have physical copies.
Okay.
I'm delinquent. We've been delinquent on producing.
No. Basically what I did was I typed it up. That was fun. I typed the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World and put it in this little format. It's fun. And on the back, you have the list of those who signed it when it was notarized. That's a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
I think it's about 120. About 120. So, brothers and sisters, you need to have copies of the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World. Because as we move to resurrect the UNIA, it's just a tool that you're going to need. I mean, it would be different if somebody said, well, the Declaration of Rights isn't relevant anymore. We have achieved all of those rights. Please. Think white supremacy is dead? You think our people aren't somewhere? Well, who is Macy? Or is her name Massey? The young sister that was just killed.
Oh, yeah, Massey.
This is a modern form of lynching.
Yes, sir.
So, brothers and sisters, please don't play with this like we got the tiger by the tail. Now,
I wanted to say something on that also, Brother Shock, whenever you.
All right. Now, before I have Brother John take us into the next segment, I want to say something that is real close to my heart, something that I found and I fell in love with. This is July, the 31st of July, 1920. It was in the Negro World newspaper in 1920. That's appropriate, right? Because we're talking about the first International Convention of the Negro People of the World. This is July. And one of the followers of the Alma Marcus Garvey wrote this. He says, and I tell you, my friends, in conclusion, what we need to get is the spirit of this man, alluding to Mr. Garvey. You have got to get the spirit of Garvey and let it touch your hearts until it becomes a part of your life. Get Garvey's interest in you until you think Garveyism, until you pray Garveyism, until at night you dream Garveyism. In short, until you get that spirit of Garveyism that will not die, that knows no outs, no defeat or failure, that will not stop, that dares believe that God is your God. I can see before me the spirit of Garveyism stimulating, inspiring, unifying, and sweeping the 400 million Black people of the world until they march out on the plains of Africa under the banner of the red, the black, and the green, ready if need be to die, that the cause nearest and dearest to their hearts may live. Live that Africa may at last be free, and that Ethiopia may again stretch forth her hands to God and become a great people. Printed in the Negro World, 31st of July, 1920. And that's what I held close to my heart for almost 50 years, the spirit of Garveyism, until it can never be removed. So let me see where my president is, and then where he wants us to go from there. What'd you say, dear? Okay, go ahead, Brother John.
Yes, sir. Okay. One thing that I wanted to touch on, make sure we, for the importance of the day, let me share my screen. August 1st, 1920. This day, 104 years ago, thereabout, we exercised our plebiscite, which was the first the first step to the culmination of what we consider our self-governance in the UNIA-ACL. And we should know what a plebiscite is. I pulled this from Oxford Dictionary. Maybe a little bit hard to read for some. I'll zoom in a little bit. A plebiscite. What is a plebiscite? What did our ancestors do on August 1st, 1920? What is the significance of it? Plebiscite, according to Oxford Dictionary, is a public referendum or vote by the population of a territory to determine its choice of a sovereign or a secession of territory to another state. So, again, leading up to the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World that listed the 12 complaints that were universal, as well as the 54 declarations that were also universal to our people, no matter where we were on the planet. The plebiscite was the initial step to verbally state your opinion, as well as document it for future generations, as well as any opposing nations. So it officially let the world know that the Black race was ready to stand up. As we've talked about, we have to be men and women again. We have to learn, to stand on our own. The plebiscite was that first step to where we as a race came together and said that we are not happy with the rulership of other races and other nations. And in fact, we prefer to lead ourselves. So plebiscite was the first step. Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World expounded upon that. And then the establishment of the High Executive Office, which we just reviewed, further solidified and begin to put in practice this desire for self-governance. So I wanted to make sure we have a good understanding of August 1st, 1920, the plebiscite, which was the first step for our claim for self-governance.
Well, the beauty of the plebiscite is that it creates a democratic process where you're not being dictated to by a tyrant or a leader, but that a process is created where you can have discussions on what it is that you want to do. It's just like when I've served as the speaker in convention, I could do so because I understood parliamentary procedure. I understood Robert's Rules of Order, having served as secretaries in my community organization and my community school and so forth. And the Honorable Marcus Garvey and many of the seniors in the UNIA understood that process. And so the Honorable Marcus Garvey was so good at it. That's why sometimes rival organizations would come inside the UNIA, but they could never take over because we knew how to manage meetings. We knew how to make motions and take them through the process of getting things done. And so that's another thing, Brother Hargrove and Brother Clyde, and any other presidents or lady presidents, that you need to practice and get better at. I'm not saying that you don't, but I'm just saying we all need to learn the skills of parliamentary procedure and parliamentary law, so that when you go into a business meeting or you go into a meeting where people who understand it are using it, you can participate.
Yes, sir.
and not be, left out because you don't know the rules that govern how meetings and business meetings are conducted. So we knew how to do that in the UNIA. We still know how to do that, but we need others to get better at it. Now, how do you get better at it? We got better at it in my division in Chicago 40, 50 years ago, because we had meetings every week.
Mm.
When you're meeting every week, you're taking care of business every week, you're learning the songs every week, you're learning the rituals every week, you're using it every week, and you got a master teacher that's teaching you every week. Oh man, you come away knowing a lot of things.
Yes, sir.
But my wife complains sometimes. She says, we hear a lot about once a month and twice a month. Well, we had the regular mass meeting, then we had a business meeting. So that's 8 meetings a month. And we made a lot of money because every time we had a mass meeting, we lift an offering. We had 25,000 in our bank account at one point in Division 429 because we met on a regular basis and we lift offerings. And we took the nickels and dimes, and somebody said, I ain't got but $1 and they owe for their dues. We take the $1. Miss James used to take dollars, 50 cents, and would write it in your dues book that you gave the $1, you gave the 50 cents. So I'm just saying, let's get better at running business meetings of the UNIA by running more business meetings of the UNIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shaka.
Brother Shaka?
Yes. I hear you.
Oh, yes. I was just, a little light bulb went on when you were talking about the rules, Robert's rules. I kind of learned a little bit when I was in high school in the student council. So it just keeps order, and it keeps people from just going all off on other tangents. So I just wanted to say that because I really appreciate when you talked about that.
Oh, thank you, Sister Georgia. Maybe we can have classes on it. Brother John, is that something? I mean, as long as the president is responsible for teaching the Constitution on a regular basis, it's okay to add, Robert's Rules of Order and how business is transacted. What do you think, Brother John?
I think it's a great idea. I would just ask for one slight adjustment. One of the things that we've been looking at locally is a modification of Robert's rules. To my knowledge, Mr. Robert is a Caucasian. And I understand that there are some good things or some things that work that we can apply to our system and use within our system. But I would ask if we could look at Robert's rules and find a way to modify them so that we can develop, some maybe Garvey's rules, but something more, for us and made by us.
Yes.
Well, no.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why. That's the same rules that the Chinese use when you're negotiating to buy the African Union building or to have them put that up. That's the same rules that the Russians use. They ain't caught up into whether the guy's name is Robert. The idea is master the technique before you change it. Okay. Make sure that everybody has mastered it. We be moving on to something else and we ain't got the basics down yet. And so I just want to make sure that we master all the tools that we're going to need before we make any kind of changes or any kind of improvements.
I can understand that. Valid.
No, I like that idea. Marcus Garvey's rules. Do you know that we could create rules for living off of what the Marcus Garvey has taught? I mean, you could almost have a book of instructions on how to live your life, because he set an example, precepted an example of how to live. So not just how to run a meeting.
Yes, sir.
But you want to know how to be honest to a penny, to a penny, so that you wouldn't take a dime from another person. And I say that especially to our presidents. You have to be above reproach.
Yes, sir.
Lady presidents, you have to be above reproach where people will never be able to accuse you or think that you would take anything from any member. And so on God, by studying the life and the works of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, yeah, we could put together a rule book on how to live your life as a Garveyite. I mean, look at the objects and aims that we just talked about a little while ago. What does that mean? How do you live your life as if you are part of a confraternity? What do you say to your brother every day that you meet him or that you meet her? What do we begin to say? Let's get creative in terms of how to resurrect the UNIA, you know, because the Honorable Marcus Garvey used to give you 5 minutes, and Brother Morima, I ain't forgot you. The Honorable Marcus Garvey used to give you 5 minutes to explain the objects and aims. You can't explain the objects and aims in 5 minutes if you've never studied it.
Yes, sir.
You've never read them. You've never practiced them. Until you make them a part of your life, they're not yours. Those aims and objects, or objects and aims in the UNIA book, a Constitution, book of laws, you can't say those belong to the Honorable Marcus Garvey. You have to say those are mine. Those are mine. That preamble, Universal Negro Improvement, social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society. You can't say that belongs to the Honorable Marcus Garvey. You got to say that's my preamble. And you get so used to saying it that when you walk up to people and they say, what kind of organization you got? Well, we're social. And let me explain what social means. Because just like you did that definition of, what was that word you broke down?
Plebiscite.
Plebiscite? Then you break down with social organization or society. Okay, what does social mean? We're friendly. What does friendly mean? Humanitarian. What does humanitarian mean? Charitable. What does charitable mean? The UNIA is a charitable organization. Yeah, and here's what it means. Yes, expansive, constructive, institutional. What does that mean? So we need to be able to break all of that down so we can tell the people this is what we are about. Not what was happening 100 years ago, but what we're about today, 2024.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ooh.
Your brother is putting something in the chat room from Amasius. He says,
summary of Robert's rules. So first president is helping us to get started to learn Robert's rules.
Is there a way he can get copies of it? Because, you know, you can get the little pamphlets, used to be able to, that has, you know, the basics in there, and just make it available to the members when you have a class. Make sure everybody has a copy of whatever you're going to have a class on. My wife was going to say something. Oh, we're running close to
15 minutes.
All right, Morima, is that idea still fresh in your mind?
Fresh, but not as relevant. But yeah, I was just going to speak a little bit about the declarations, but we passed that now, so you know, no biggie. But by the way, historically, my UNIA mother, Velma Myers, did also attempt to implement African consensus in lieu of Robert's Rules of Order, and might I say it was kind of disastrous because everybody wasn't learning it, everybody didn't really agree to it, and you know it wasn't an established, effective system that actually did what we had hoped it would do. So in the end, again, Brother Shaka was saying we might want to master the one that we've already agreed to, and then kind of go from there to make up some other system if we're going to modify anything. But yeah, the African consensus thing was was very unsuccessful, and it didn't last a whole session. But anyway, just for that record. And I was just going to mention too about the, if you think about the International Convention and the empire concept, nothing must kill the empire urge, as we were told in the creed. You look at the UNIA, when the UNIA marched, and we marched 10-mile parade. When we marched, we had serious
Brother Moyama,
Didn't beg for rights. You know, slaves beg for their rights. Free people declare their rights. And when you know you are free and you got the rights declared and given you by the Almighty God, you beg any person to give you anything. They already given you. You just have to make the people respect your rights and vow to do whatever it takes to, you know, make those sure those rights are respected globally. But you know, we weren't doing a whole lot of begging. So even though you might see a march, we were marching to organize and show formation and strength and organization and numbers. We weren't marching, you know, or sitting in and dying in and all that other kind of crazy stuff like some people this generation think is cool or hip, laying all over the ground, you know, for folks to stomp on them. That wasn't the UNIA method. We were demonstrating self-determination at its finest. And, you know, in order to be a real useful Garveyite in this day and age, you really have to study these declarations and all the fundamentals of Garveyism because, you know, there was an elder who once wrote a book. I know Brother Shock, remember, Sister Elder Mary Mason, a.k.a. Ebony Mama. But she once wrote a book called The UNIA I Inherited. And she pretty much talked about the two UNIAs, the one that you come into and the one that you aspire to be. And sometimes the UNIA that we have been left is not at its best, and we ought to be able to aspire to make it what it's supposed to be, what Mr. Garvey envisioned it to be. And you know that means we have to understand what his original vision and plan and works were in order to try to get it back to the level of not beyond. So you know, it's good to read the fundamentals. It keeps you grounded and keeps you, you know, thinking like a true Garveyite and not like just a regular UNIA member. You know, we ain't trying to just, you know, get by and just, you know, do as we're told and, you know, just, you know, keep it simple. You know, we trying to grow, build, expand and, you know, have folks, you know, accomplishing everything that we will. So, you know, we just got to think greater, you know, always thinking greater and bigger and better, you know, as Mr. Garvey always did. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it was you, Brother Moyama, or Brother Shocker that said it during one of our recent meetings. We don't just want to be in the UNIA. We want to make sure the UNIA is in us.
Is in us, yes.
Yeah, and if you're going to go to a convention, get your people ready. If you have members and they don't know the guidelines for how to maintain order at a convention, they're going to get lost. And so let's get our people ready.
Yes, sir.
If you go to a high executive council meeting and you don't understand the rules of order, you're not going to get anything accomplished. But if you know the rules of order, you can get everything you want out of a meeting. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Now, I want to remind all of you, we've got August the 31st, which is our next big gathering. And some of the things that we've talked about today, let's make sure those things are done and put in place.
Yes, sir.
We've got, how much time do we have left, my dear? We have 10 minutes. Brothers and sisters, you know, we have been challenged to take a closer look at the presidential elections. When it was just two old men, one 81 and the other one 78, we didn't give a hill of beans about them. But when that sister jumped in that race, that changed things. We had to look at that a little closer because it's one of ours. And I don't care nothing about what anybody says about she ain't black. Forget that. That's our sister.
Yes, sir.
She of African descent. Yeah, she is a little light in complexion, but we don't have a problem with that at all. I work with brothers and sisters from South and Central America, the Venezuelans. They be crying in the United States about them Venezuelans be coming into Chicago and coming into the major cities. And them my brothers and sisters. 50%, over 50% of the people that live in Venezuela are Africans and people of African descent. A larger percentage in Puerto Rico are of African descent. Look inside a race first and look at all the places in South and Central America where we had divisions of the UNIA according to their circular of 1926, and you will see a lot of places in South and Central America that we had divisions in. Look at Cuba, the number of divisions we had in Cuba, the largest number outside of the United States. Kamala threw her hat in the race. And so we said, well, let's at least take a look at it. Since we grown men and women, we UNIA men and women, anything that's happening in the world, we ought to be taking a look at it to see if it affects us negatively or positively. Can we get anything out of it? We have to be able to protect our interests, to know what our interests is or are. And so when the sister stood up, we just had to ask the question, is she somebody we could support or we should support? Is she Black enough for us? Or more important than that, what about the demands? Got anything you want? What does the UNIA want? We want the alma mater's guard exonerated? All right, then lay that on the table.
Yes, sir.
We want a better relationship with Mother Africa that's fair to Africa? Then put that on the table. If we want justice for our brothers and sisters behind the wall, then put that on the table. And whatever it is that we think we want, let's be man enough and woman enough to ask for it. We can't ask her for nothing. You want to ask Trump for something if he get in.
Yes, sir.
You want to ask Biden for something. We've been asking all these crackers all this time for something, and we don't want to ask a sister for anything. We just go pass over her. I don't think so. And I think she may be looking to see what the greatest movement that ever existed is talking about. She may bring the exoneration. Now, let me tell you something. You are not going to exonerate the alma mater's Garvey. You can't lock him up. You can't exonerate him. Now, you can resurrect the UNIA, but the people who locked him up must be the ones who say the man was innocent. The man had committed no crimes. And we are going back and look at our system and say we treated him unfairly. And though you may not think that means a lot for the government of the United States to go back and say they treated the alma mater's Garvey unfairly, once we get them to admit that, oh man, we got them then. We got them. Because the principles of the UNIA and the teachings of the alma mater's Garvey must be made a part of the program for our people. And so you go ahead and say that you were wrong for the injustice that you meted out to him and the UNIA. You cost us a lot of money. Liberia cost us a lot of money. When we sent that equipment over to Liberia for the development of our headquarters in Liberia, we sent $50,000 worth of material, and that was in 1921. Now, how much is that worth today? Man, these folks got some debts they're going to have to pay. So anyway, let's do something real creative, Brother Hargrove and Sister Georgia. We have 16 people on the call.
Mm-hmm.
The presidents wanted us to have this discussion. We had it twice. We were on radio shows, on conference calls talking about it. We were on a Zoom call talking about it. And now here we are once again. How do you want to proceed? I'm just thinking we got 16 people.
Well, first thing I'll say is the meeting will not shut off automatically at 9 o'clock. So we do have some grace in regards to time. So don't make that
okay. Almost lost my breath. Sister Georgia, here's what I'm thinking. I would like to give all of the guests on this call a minute to say what their feeling is about the candidate. In other words, for example, I think that I think that she ought to be supported. I intend to support her. And I think that she can win. And just, something real simple. Or if you don't feel that way, I want to fulfill our commitment to this discussion that we said we would have and invite those who are on to at least say something about it in terms of their feeling. What do you think about that, Sister Georgia?
Oh, I absolutely think it's good. It definitely just opens our minds up and let us all just take a at this time it's like we can take a little breather here, because I'm telling you, it's been so weird and so much negativity and divisiveness and all the negative and bad stuff, I put it that way. So it just feels like a little bit of normalcy coming back. Somebody that's talking like they got some sense. So having the thing with, all the things that people say, the rights, the health care, and the fact that she went to a, Black college, that tells me that she's going to really be looking, at that area with the HBCUs and things like that. So I'm just looking at the normalcy that's coming back. And, I like her. I mean, from everything that she said so far, but it's like I say, all this vitriol is just been taking over the media, and people are actually believing a lot of this stuff. So it's a good idea. It's an exercise, but it does get people to open up and just take a deep breath.
Well, thank you, Sister Georgia. Brother Hargrove, you want to go down the list of the those that are here? Would Brother Art be next?
Brother Art, would you like to give your opinion on the president candidates?
Yes, sir, President John. I think the sister will bring some honesty.
Hey, be careful what you speak them to the ether, my brother. He called you President General.
Oh, I didn't even say it. I'm just president.
Go ahead, Art.
I think she brings some honesty. And we will be able to talk to her. And I think it's going to be refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
It's fresh.
Thank you, Brother Art. You got your background coming through, brother. Yeah. I want to pull from a leadership standpoint, Brother Macias, first vice president.
Yeah, greetings, family. Definitely happy to speak on this topic. Give me 1 second. I'll turn my camera on, but I also kind of definitely would just kind of, I guess, veggie back off of Brother Shaka. I do believe that we should support her. Number one reason, though, that I think it's so beneficial because of the optimism that I have for us organizing. And I think when we get to that point where
You breaking up, Brother Macias.
Okay, hold on. Let me jump on the Wi-Fi real quick. Can you hear me better?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
All right, Brother Macias, just try to get your signal tight. Let me jump. Okay. Nah, don't do video usually messes up the sound. So yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
It's okay, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I was saying was because I'm so optimistic on us organizing ourselves. I know that when we do, we will have a opportunity to be able to speak to those leadership, like he said, with our demands. But one thing about us organizing ourselves, we can be seen as a threat when you organize. And for me, when I think about the possibility of being seen as a threat, I feel like it will be less likely with her in office. So with the opportunity to be able to speak to a person being there as well, is one of the reasons why I feel like we should support her, but also that main thing of us not being seen as a threat. Or one of the things about the Democratic Party is also that they pander to us a lot. And as we organize the opportunity to call someone out on their pandering, I feel like that's going to be a benefit as well. Us being able to, hey, you've been talking about now, supporting Black people in a way, even though you haven't in the past, but all of your events, you got all these artists out there. So now we have an opportunity to actually kind of call you on some of the pandering that this Democratic Party has been doing. And a person that looks like us, we should be able to sit at that table and have a negotiation. So those are the reasons I think that I agree that we should support her becoming into office.
Thank you, Brother Macy's. Jump over to one of our sisters. Let's bring the sisters in. Sister Diane, are you available? She's still with us. Yeah, I see owner and Diane. First Lady Vice President. Sister Diane.
Looks like it's kind of going in and out.
Okay, we'll try to come back to Sister Diane. Sister Cecily, Second Lady Vice President.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now, Sister Diane.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Don't know what was going on there. So, I kind of feel that we definitely don't want to fall for the trick and support her because she's so-called Black or so-called Indian or so-called Democrat. Because we all got excited about Biden. I mean, not Biden, Obama. And I feel she's going to be like Obama and Biden on steroids. Because Africa is giving people their you-know-what to kiss right now. And they want somebody to be able to send there to say, we have a Black president, we're for Black people. Obama was used to help put down Gaddafi. Gaddafi had a lot of great plans for the African continent, and that was thwarted for no good reason. They literally went there and murdered the man because of the plans that he had for the African continent. So why do you think they want another Black face if it's Kamala? I mean, Kamala, yeah. So, I'm not saying I'm gonna jump up and down about Trump either, because he's proven to us that he can be a wild card. But he did kind of seem to be like he was behaving a little better during the COVID pandemic. But I think regardless of who they put in office, who they select, whoever gets selected, I think at the end of the day, we should keep the UNIA and the UNIA's agenda for the race at the forefront, regardless of what they're doing. We don't want to fall for no illusion of inclusion. We don't want to get comfortable, because these people are always planning, and we should never stop planning. And so, yeah, I think that also when she was prosecutor, I heard she gave a lot of brothers excessive time in jail for marijuana and stuff like that. And of course, they got all these dispensaries all over the country. but they still have people in jail for marijuana. So, yeah, we get too emotionally attached to these candidates because they look like our skin color. Remember, she's not even married to a black man. But we get all crazy about these people because they have our skin color, because they talk the right talk. But, you know, at the end of the day, we got to look at the history. At the end of the day, we can't get all caught up emotionally in what's being said at the heated moment because it's election time. We have to remember she specifically said, I'm not going to do anything special for Black people. It's like, who do Black people think they are? We're not going to do anything special just because they're Black people. She said that. And what we saw when the Asian thing happened, look at how long Blacks have been persecuted in this country. All of a sudden, they find it necessary to make an Asian hate bill. Where is the anti-lynching bill and all this stuff? You know, it's just, I don't want to go on and on about it, but I think at the end of the day, these guys are figureheads, and they only have so much power. They only have so much control, and we can't get comfortable like how we got comfortable with integration, and that didn't help us in the long run. When they destroyed Black Wall Street, we should have built that sucker again and never allow us to go without a Black Wall Street. So, I mean, it's hindsight is 50-50, but what I'm saying is we can't get comfortable. And what I'm saying is we have to focus on what we're trying to do. And only time will tell what these people end up being with. Well, we don't know what kind of trader they're going to be. We don't know what they're going to use to do. We don't know what kind of destruction they may try to do in Africa, because right now Africa is rising and they're, you know, they're holding up. They're doing good. And a lot of people in the West, including the United States of America, don't like that. So that's my little piece.
Thank you, Sister Diane. Very thorough assessment. Thank you. Thank you for that input. All right, 7 after 9. We do have a few others that have not had a chance to give input. Next, I wanted to call on our second male vice president, Brother Malik.
Yeah, I really don't have an opinion of her. I haven't heard from her in the past 3.5 years, so I don't even know where she stands. So I don't have anything to go on. So that's that.
I understand. Thank you, Brother Malik. And it is what it is. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's my question is about policies and position. But we'll continue. Thank you, Brother Malik. Second Lady Vice President, Sister Cecily. Sister Cecily, you there? Sister Cecily? Okay. Look like Sister Cecily may have stepped away. Back up for Sister Cecily. Dr. Kuda. Greetings, Dr. Kuda.
Greetings, President John. Greetings to everybody on the meeting.
Greetings. Thank you for joining. Would you like to share your thoughts on the upcoming United States presidential election?
I think Brother Shaka Barak already spoke about something that is doable, that we should be looking at doing. The approach that he already has shared, I felt, you know, and also I think the second Lady Vice President, or who was it, who also echoed that, you know, it just lit a bulb up for her. What he mentioned, I think, is a strategy that we should try to apply, an approach that we can apply, but I just don't know how well organized all the UNIA branches or divisions are, because we should come together as a joint UNIA, strong UNIA, and, you know, and put forward our needs to say, this is what we want to see done. The document that Brother Shaka Barak read, what is it called again?
The Declaration of Rights? Or...
Okay, there's some document that he read. I think it's the Declaration of Rights. At that time, I was doing two things at the same time. I wasn't taking notes, I'm sorry. But I heard what he was sharing. And I think some of those documents can also, shape up how we approach, this new, I think she is going to win. That's a definite. For me, I'm very optimistic she is going to win, definitely. And it's one of those things that it's about time there was a woman president in America. Hillary Clinton didn't do it, didn't make it. She was whatever happened there, because she was with Obama, so priority was for a Black person instead of for female. But this now, I think it's really a chance for a female person to be in the White House. And whether it was her or not, it's about time that the UNIA is visible. It's about time we make ourselves known, that as the Negro people who are in the United States of America, these are our needs, these are our demands, and we need support, because all the monies that are there are your tax monies too. All the monies that they spend on other initiatives, which also could be spent in the UNIA. Right now, I'm working somewhere else. I could be working in the UNIA. That frustrates me a lot. We want to survive on 27 cents a day. I know Garvey did it in his time, but times have changed. We need, our monies are there in the treasury, what you call the finance building. All the taxes of Black people, we also can get funding for our initiatives, for the programs that we want to implement for our people to be self-reliant. All these things that we are looking for, we need to approach the White House and put our, the way Brother Shako Barak was speaking, I was like, wow, I wish
Dr. Kuda, we lost you for a second. Dr. Kuda? Getting excited. Look like she dropped off. She's probably gonna call back in. Dr. Shams, I see you got your hand up.
Raise first.
Raise first, Dr. Shams.
Raise first.
Yes, sir. First of all, it's not about what the leader can do for us. It's about what we can do for ourselves to motivate the leader to do for us. A leader is only put in position to serve the people. So if the people have one motivation, one movement, and one direction, all the leader can do is comment on it and either set it aside or promote it. So therefore, I think, the protest that I was talking about since Sonia Massey got killed, Sister Sonia Massey, the protest in front of the United Nations is in order, because it will definitely draw her attention there, and we could put forward our agenda also right there in front of the protest in front of the United Nations here in New York. And also, I have the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World on my website under International Laws and Sovereign ID link on my website. I also have quite a bit of Marcus Mosiah Garvey's relevant information on critical scriptures found in the sovereignty link on my website as well. And I have Kamala and Trump's, Kamala versus Trump's comparison under the vote link on my website. So if you want to call me, send me an email or whatever, get in contact with me and go with me through my website, I can direct you as to the various aspects of information I have relevant to our discussion this evening. Peace and raise first.
Race first, but Dr. Shams, given the research that you've done, is there a brief assessment that you can give on Sister Kamala?
Yes. she is in favor. She is in strong favor of the Palestinians more so than the Israelis. She feels the plight that the Palestinians are going through more than the Israelis, and she has stated that before. She has stated that recently, as a matter of fact. And I think that she is for our people. So brother Shaka is right on track when he says we shouldn't just put her aside or act like she doesn't impact on what we're doing. If Trump gets in there, we know we're going to have some impact on what we're doing because he's going to try and knock it down. So if he's going to try and knock it down, why don't we put forth a movement of protest in front of the United Nations, what have you, to have Sister Kamala attention drawn to our cause so we could present the agendas of what we have and what we want as a people. The people motivate the leaders. The leaders don't necessarily motivate the people. Peace and race first.
Race first. Thank you, Dr. Shams. 16 after, we still got a few members that have not had a chance to share. Please forgive me for this oversight. In regards to leadership, Sister Georgia Johnson also serves as Lady President of Division 429. Sister Georgia, what are your thoughts on our sister Kamala in the upcoming election? You're on mute, Sister Georgia. Okay.
Okay. Back to the beginning. Like I said, when she first got announced, when they first announced her, because you know they they were beating up on Biden pretty bad because he was about his age and everything. So everything was looking kind of, you know, just looking bleak on that side. And then of course, you know, Trump was just doing his thing. He was out there performing. I'll put it that way. But when they announced her coming in, that did that upset the apple cart a lot, as they say. But what I was going to say, as far as her, I had not done a lot of research myself on her. That's why I was excited to hear Dr. Sham had the comparison to both of them. But I don't think I would lean toward, and for me now, I wouldn't be leaning toward Trump, regardless to whoever was running. But I would definitely say I got kind of caught up in all the excitement too with the Miss Kamala Harris because of what I've been hearing and seeing. She actually visited Chicago and visited my church, and I got a chance to just kind of see her close up. But you know, they say a lot of things when they're campaigning, you know that. But if I had to decide between the two, it would be hands down with her. And then, of course, all the issues and everything that's involved. And then what's this 25? How do you say it? The something 25?
Project 2025.
Oh, Lord. If he's attached to that any kind of way, I'm just saying, rewind, Kamala Harris, hands down for me now. That's where I'm at with that.
I understand. Thank you, Sister Georgia, Lady President of Division 429. Were there any other sisters that did not get a chance to give input before I go to the remaining brothers?
Yeah, my wife wants to say something.
Sister Kamar, my apologies.
You want to sit here, Kamar?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm good. I'm good. When I was a child, there was a record out that said a nigger and a white man playing 7-Up. Nigger beat the white man, he's scared to pick him up. So for that reason, I am supporting Ms. Harris for President of the United States to give her the backbone that our race needs. I also am supporting her as a Garveyite because we cry loud, race first.
Mm-hmm.
And she is of African descent.
Race first.
Race first. Thank you, Sister Kamar. Brief segue as we continue with the brothers. based on Brother Shaka, I know you understand why I'm doing this. Based on some of the discussions that Brother Shaka and I have had when organizing this event, I must say on camera in the recording, we are not expressing the opinions of the UNIA-ACL parent body. These are the opinions of individual UNIA-ACL members. So I want to make that clear.
And the other thing we're not doing is we're not holding a vote.
Correct.
We're not holding a plebiscite. We're just having a discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because for many of us, she's a new person and new personality that we don't necessarily know that much about. So we just having a discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
But yeah, some of our partners in leadership are under the impression that we put this event together to state the opinion of the UNIA-ACL, and that's not what we are doing. We're just, as Brother Shaka said, just having a discussion amongst family. Okay. Next, Brother Eric, third vice president. Anything that you want to share? Then I'll come to you, Brother Moyama. Brother Eric, you have any opinion on the upcoming election and our sister Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate? Okay, Brother Eric stepped away. Okay, Brother Eric, I see you.
I try to think of it in three, like whenever it comes to these elections, I kind of just put it into three categories. Just just pessimistic, the optimistic, and I guess I would say I guess realism. I guess the third one would just be whatever ends up happening, but which I guess would be opportunistic as a way to approach it. But I guess I'm 21, so I just was able to vote. So looking at, I wouldn't say news, but like reading and looking at history and just everything that's been going on just in my lifetime and like the people I can reach's lifetime, you kind of got to look at it as a situation you're going into and one that's being like put into is how I try to think about it. So I wouldn't put anyone down. I think it's really great, the situation we're all in here election wise. So it's not a terrible thing. I'm never gonna hate on anybody for anything. There's a lot of stuff that I'm opposed to and supportive of either way. So it's definitely not a lesser of two evils, because that would imply that one is good and one is bad. But which I don't see it that way. I see it as the one thing I would want to avoid, actually, I'm going to leave it at one thing. I'm trying to pick one thing to not drag on, but it's just trying to make sure you're not being pushed to one side because you don't like the other side. Not that one is good or one is bad or one is better than the other, but I just think that a lot of things have had their problems for a long time, and that it's definitely not a turnaround. And anything bad that happens isn't anyone's one person's fault, and everything that's good isn't one person's like responsibility for like, oh, congratulations and also thank you. So, I'll leave it at that one thing.
Thank you for your input. Yeah, first time as a presidential election voter, so that's very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of information coming in from a lot of different directions, and whenever something I try to keep track of over all this, I guess this little bit of time so far, is like if someone's trying to make you make a decision really, really, really fast before like she just got in. So I kind of have to like look around and read a little bit and like see what's all going on, because a lot of it has been just like, well, I'm not the other side so far, so a little more other things, and they can be a more solid view.
Understand? Yes. we all have a lot of research to do. As you said, she just, and as Brother Shaka, that's why we're having a discussion. She was just recently announced as the presidential candidate, so we got a lot of catching up to do to understand, more about her vision as president. So thank you, Brother Eric.
Right.
Next, I want to go to Brother Moyama.
Yes, sir. Let me say this. Okay, you can hear me well?
Yeah, we hear you a little better.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, someone once put it as Kamala versus Trump is like AKA versus KKK. It's really not much of a choice. I mean, no one votes for president unless you have millions of people like, United Auto Workers or somebody you can influence because you got millions of votes that they need. You're not going to really influence president. Normally you vote for president for who's not as bad as the other person. But in this case, it's not really much of a decision to make. If I had to choose who's going to call the National Guard and, treat black folks like crazy, who's going to vote for certain judges, who's anti-women, anti-black, anti-intellectual, anti-anything, serious, versus, Kamala Harris. She may not be the best, but, I mean, truth be told, no politician is ever, going to do what they, say they're going to do, and they really can't, even if they wanted to. I mean, I remember years ago, to keep it short, Kwesi Mfume, someone whose autobiography I studied, he had talked about when he first ran for office in Baltimore, he was a radical black revolutionary nationalist to the core. He came in the mayor's office, knocked everything off his desk, sat up in his chair, said, "I'm taking your seat, boy." And he was like revolutionary brother. And he got in office first thing he got in there, he put the most revolutionary black bill you ever seen in your life on the table. And nobody voted for it. And he was like, "What? Why don't y'all support this? You even said you wanted to support this." They said, "Well, you didn't support my bill." I mean, so I'm not going to support yours. You don't support mine. So then he had to compromise. He had to vote for things on certain bills that he didn't want to go on the bill because you don't have that, exclusive, kind of dictatorship or authority to just make things happen. So every politician has to compromise. They have to do things that they don't want to do. And that's just the fact of life, so you're never going to get any politician to give you what you want. If you do, you're naive. You're not really, politically mature enough to understand politics. But you try to get the one who's, going to be better than the other, and you take advantage of it until you can build political power, till we can have a national political director, where we can have a universal Negro political union, where we can have institutions and structures that make sure that our tax dollars are going to where we want them to go, but until such time, vote for the, better of the two. I'm not going to say she's evil, but Kamala's done some things. But I will say this too. She does have a Jamaican father when it comes to the exoneration. And one of our former lawyers, Garveyite, well, I ain't going to say Garvey, but there's a lawyer I know who was good friends, if not best friends, with Kamala Harris, who was an advocate for Mr. Garvey's exoneration. In fact, she had looked to reach out to her to help press Obama on the case. So there is, through one degree of separation, a person that can put that bug in her ear to get that done. So, I mean, I have a better chance than dealing with Trump on certain matters. So there's no question to me. It's just, we got to, well, I ain't gonna say we got to, but we should understand the politics of the time and support, in my opinion, Kamala. It's not really much of a choice, but that's all. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Moyama. I think we got a couple other brothers that have not had a chance to give input. Let's go over to our brother in Jacksonville, Confidence Chizoro, OKK. Brother Chizoro, you want to give a comment on upcoming election? Sister Kamala? Maybe.
Greetings, peace. I don't have much of a comment or much of an opinion. I don't really vote too much. I don't vote at all. I was just listening in, but in regards to having direct access to the presidency or having a voice, I think that's something that could be strategized upon. I commented that She visits churches, the AME Church in particular. You know, that's a historical platform. But people would have to be organized in any case, no matter what. People have to be organized with a set of demands beforehand.
Yes, sir.
That's just all I have to say.
So, yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Chizo. And that's a good point. And Brother Shaka, I think you had started out with that demands. Do we as a people, do we have demands? Do we know what we want from these individuals in these offices? So that's something that we should, make very clear. I think there's one other individual, Cress O'Brien. Cress, are you there? Cress O'Brien. Okay, Cress does not look like they are either there or they do not wish to share. Brother Shock, I think that includes everyone. I don't know if I gave my official position, but it's one of research. I agree with what everybody's saying, especially Brother Moriama in regards to not a lot of choice. But it is interesting because I remember, I don't know if y'all saw the debate with Biden. He did not do good at all. And it was a very troubling moment because, most of us have a similar opinion in regards to Trump and we don't want to vote for Trump. But what Biden displayed had me not wanting to vote for anybody at all. But I am glad, that Kamala is able and willing, and she stepped into that role. But before I gave my official, endorsement, I would like to know some of her policies and some of her vision, first 90 days and things like that. So, Brother Shaka, floor is back to you. I think everyone has anyone not had a chance to give input? Well,
I was just gonna add real quick that I think that the whole thing was planned for Biden to go up there, and I think it's just a stage and we're seeing it played out, but I think their plan was to put Kamala in place because it's a bigger picture. They're thinking about the agendas, all the stuff happening with what is that? Not Brexit, but them losing the strength of the American dollar. They have to solicit. I think it was planned. It was just too easy, but that's my opinion. But that doesn't mean we should take away from, other things, but it seemed like it was just planned.
Understand. But at the end of the day, and Brother Shock, I'm getting ready to pass it back to you to prepare to close out. At the end of the day, these are the two options that United States citizens have. Kamala Harris under the Democratic Party, Donald Trump under the Republican Party. And tonight was an opportunity for us to just give some insight or opinions on, what we thought was the best strategy. So,
thank you, my brother.
Thank you, brother.
What I'll do is a couple of things, and then we'll close out. I'll certainly ask our Lady President, Sister Georgia, to lead us in the Ethiopian anthem. I wanted to, again, say let's get ready for August the 31st. Now, this is an international holiday. And if there are things that you want to do on that day, please get with your presidents and tell them what's on your mind so that we can work out exactly what the agenda is going to be for August the 31st, the international holiday. And just think about this. The holiday, it was established after all the work had been done. I mean, 30 days in and out, grinding it. And then to celebrate at the end of the month with the international holiday. And it's going to be on a Saturday, which doesn't prevent you from maybe doing something in your respective communities on that day. And then we could maybe do a Zoom call in the evening, late evening, but that day on a Saturday, you could start that day off and get some members, get some new people, fresh blood, and tell them about what we've been talking about, what we have as our objects and aims in the UNIA. So Brother Clyde and Brother Hargrove and I will be discussing our agenda for August the 31st. Nothing is going to stop that. So what I want to do is I want to close with a part of the ritual, the chaplain's prayer. If you all humble your spirits and repeat after me. Not by might nor by power.
Not by might nor by power. Nor by power.
But by my spirit, said the Lord of hosts.
By my
spirit, said the Lord of hosts.
God of the right, our battles fight.
God of the right, our battles fight.
Be with us as of yore.
Be with us as of yore.
Break down the barriers of might.
Break down the
barriers of might.
We reverently implore.
We reverently implore.
Stand with us in our struggles for.
Stand with us in our struggles for.
The triumph of the right.
The triumph
of the right.
And spread confusion ever o'er.
And spread confusion ever o'er.
The advocates of might.
The advocates of might.
And let them know that righteousness.
And let them know
that righteousness
is mightier than sin.
Is
mightier than sin.
That might is only selfishness.
That might is only selfishness.
And ought not win.
And cannot ought not
win.
Endow us, Lord, with faith and grace.
Endow us,
Lord, with faith and grace.
And courage to endure.
Courage to endure.
The wrongs we suffer here apace.
The wrongs we suffer there apace.
And bless us evermore.
And bless
us evermore.
Amen.
Amen.
Sister Georgia?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay.
Please, everyone.
All right.
Everyone else, please mute.
I'm pumped up. Okay, I'm getting tuning in because I really, really take this song to heart. Ethiopia, the land of our fathers, the land where the gods long to be. When storm clouds at night suddenly gathers, our armies come marching to thee. We must in the fight be victorious. When swords are thrust onward to glean, for us will the victory be glorious. When led by the red, black, and green. Advance, advance to victory. Let Africa be free. Still made for fall. With the might of the red, the black, and the green. With the mind, red, the black, and the green. Hurrah, hurrah,
Yep, yep.
Repeat our motto. One God.
One God.
One aim.
One aim.
One destiny.
One destiny.
One destiny.
Repeat our slogan. Africa for the Africans.
Africa for the Africans.
Africa for the Africans.
Those at home.
Those at home.
Those at
Those
home.
abroad.
And those abroad.
And those abroad.
And race first.
Race first.
Race first. Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will.
Sure, up you
Mighty
might.
race, you can accomplish what you will.
What you will.
Brother Shaka?
Yes, my brother.
One recommendation for August 31st. Can we try to include all divisions of the UNIA in that celebration?
That is an excellent idea. We will reach out to them immediately because we don't have a lot of time before the date.
Yes, sir.
You and I will talk about it. I like that. And that ought to be huge if everybody, because all the conventions will be out the way and all the other little parties and what it'll be out the way. Everybody ought to be able to show up for the anniversary of the first international holiday of Africans and people of African descent.
Yes, sir.
Great idea.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Shaka.
And please solicit your membership. If they have other ideas, I'd like to hear about those as well.
Yes, sir. We got an executive meeting this coming Saturday. Also, we'll be studying the Constitution August 3rd and August 10th in preparation for upcoming convention. So, couple things coming very soon.
Never too often to study the Constitution.
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right, my brother.
All right, family.
Let's do that protest in front of the United Nations since we're so sovereign.
Dr. Shams, can I say something to you?
Yes, sir.
I've been to the United Nations 3 times. So we don't go to the United Nations and stand on the outside waving a picket sign. We go inside and take care of our business. So if you really want to go to the United Nations, let's make it happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, family. Thank you, everyone. This will be a close to our opening celebration for the First International Convention of the Negro Peoples of the World, August 1st, 1920. And with that, I bid you all a good evening. Go in peace. Race first.
Peace, love, and good evening, everyone.
Race first, family.
Race first.